Okay, our next speaker is Dr. Eva Samaras. She's an archivist and researcher with experience in government and audiovisual archiving, as well as media and theatre production. Eva has worked at the Public Record Office Victoria, the University of Melbourne and the ABC, and is currently the Assistant Director of Digital Archives, Innovation and Research at the National Archives of Australia. She completed her PhD last year at the University of Technology, Sydney, and for that research she collaborated with international film and television digital visual effects industry to explore their records and archiving practices. So Eva's going to speak to us today about building digital archiving capability at the National Archives of Australia. So we should be at the wrong.
Oh yeah, I see. Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
That should be good. Submit its cover. It's not doing anything. Here we go. Yay! Hello everyone. Thanks for coming along to this session. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of all the lands that we're joining from today. So Ngunnawal country here and the Boon Wurrung and Wiradjuri lands where I live and work for the last 10 years. And I pay my respect to their elders past, present and emerging, and thank them for protecting our ecosystems since time immemorial. And I'd like to also extend my respect to any First Nations people attending today and online. So thank you very much for that nice introduction, Nick. I work with Nick at the National Archives, but I haven't actually met him before, so it's very nice to meet you. And yeah, so as Nick said, today I'm going to be presenting about how we're building digital archiving capability at the National Archives of Australia. Now is this thing going to work? No. Is that going to work? Yes. Okay, I'm not going to use a clicker. I think it's temperamental. So here's an overview of what I'll be covering in my presentation today. I'm just going to put my notes down because the screen's actually easier for me to use. So I'm going to first provide a bit of a background to our digital archiving capability work, which includes strategic vision, some information about the section where this program of work sits, and an overview of recent digital archiving capability work. Some of the initiatives that we've been doing. I should say that I'm quite new at the National Archives, so the first half of this presentation is about a whole program of work that I haven't been involved in myself, but my managers sort of reviewed everything, so it should be all pretty accurate. And then the second half is pretty much like what I'm starting to get involved in as a new person at the archives, and the program of work that I'm going to be leading for the next couple of years. And then the last bit of the presentation is going to be sort of more reflection on some, I guess the middle is a kind of reflection on how that sort of work went, and then looking ahead at the digital archiving capability implementation plan, which is a massive mouthful, which is a big piece of work that I've just been working on as I started. I'll talk a bit about the approach of how we developed that plan, how we're structuring it, and some of the activities that are already started in the plan, and how we're hoping to measure the success of that work. Firstly, we're just going to look at the background to this program of work at the National Archives. So the National Archives' current strategy is known as Strategy 2030, a transformed and trusted National Archives. And within the strategy, we set out the vision for a transformed and trusted National Archives, a world-leading archive empowered and resourced to ensure that authentic government information is created, secured and preserved. Sorry, this isn't working for me now. I'm going to switch. So authentic government information is created, secured, preserved and accessible to government and the community. And underpinning this transformation is a comprehensive and focused drive for digital service delivery and capability. And with this vision established, building digital archiving capability can be seen as a new corporate priority at the archives. So here's a very simplified view of the National Archives organisation. So we have over 300 staff, which is a very big archive, bigger than anything I've used to working at before. Many of the staff are based here in Canberra. But we also have state offices in each capital city where staff from different sections of the business work. So, for example, I'm based in Naarm or Melbourne, and other members of my team work in Brisbane and Canberra. And it's, as I just said, it's the biggest, most complex archive that I've ever worked in. So implementing any program of work, including digital archiving capability, is not an easy task. So currently the role of building digital archiving capability lies within my section of the National Archives, which is called Digital Archives Innovation and Research, or DARE. And our section sits within the Corporate Services branch at the Archives. So we're a small team of 6 staff, but we're quite diverse. So we have traditional archivists like myself, data and preservation specialists with expertise in research, digital archiving and audiovisual preservation. We also have a fairly new member of our team that's quite good at data management as well, so that's been a great asset as well. And so our role is to assist the National Archives to achieve its vision and to support its operations. And we do this in a lot of different ways. So we research policies and techniques to support long-term preservation and access to digital records, as well as maintaining awareness of emerging developments in digital archiving practices, conducting data analysis to support service delivery and assist collection projects, and engaging with the local and international digital archiving community and the tertiary sector. And lastly, building digital archiving capability within the organisation, which is what I'll be focusing on today. So this slide is to give you a very high-level overview of some of the all different initiatives that have been undertaken. So we've been doing this work for a long time, but this slide is just some of the key, more recent initiatives and some that are kind of in the works at the moment. So just to quickly go through what's presented here on this slide. So in 2018, we conducted digital literacy surveys and established a digital literacy framework. In 2019, we developed a discussion paper called Defining the Role of Digital Archivists. I believe my colleague James wrote that. This paper highlights that the skills and capabilities of archivists need to evolve in the digital environment. While archivists will always require a core knowledge of archival principles, standards and practices, working in the digital environment requires an additional set of skills and capabilities. So in 2019, we also established our digital archiving capability strategy, which will be covered in a bit more detail. And then moving into 2021, our HR section, known as People and Culture, established a capability framework and workforce plans, which include digital archiving. And this year, we've established the new digital archiving capability implementation plan, which I'll unpack later in this talk. Plus, there's currently in the works are some plans to hopefully establish a cadetship program or re-establish that. Some of that was discussed yesterday. And potentially a new graduate certificate qualification with our tertiary partner CSU to help ensure that new and existing staff have appropriate training and qualifications in digital archiving. So now I'm just going to reflect a bit upon the digital archiving capability strategy that was undertaken at the National Archives before I started there. So the digital archiving capability strategy was approved by the Executive Board in December 2019. It was drafted by the Digital Archives Task Force, which later became DARE, together with staff from People and Culture. So the strategy set a vision for the National Archives to have an innovative, agile and creative workforce with the skills and capabilities to secure its digital future. And it set 3 main objectives: identifying, developing and maturing the digital archiving skills and capabilities of staff, embedding a rolling program of digital capability development that is effective, achievable and measurable, encouraging a culture of innovation and digital confidence by developing hands-on capability and enabling staff to use digital archiving software. So the strategy included about 10 actions for implementation. So some of those included establishing a digital archiving capability development committee, developing training e-learning modules and workshops, developing a technical training environment so that staff could learn different software and tools, and placing more emphasis on digital archiving capability within our staff's individual work plans. So unfortunately, the timing of this was pretty bad. So after the strategy was endorsed, we faced the COVID-19 pandemic and went through some transition. So unfortunately, the Digital Archives Task Force was disbanded, and then it was sort of reformed and replaced in part by DARE. All committees in the organisation were scaled back within the National Archives, and People and Culture reviewed the organisation's workforce plan and capability framework with the view to developing new capability implementation plans which would be managed by different business areas. So these changes affected the strategy implementation. And as a result, the proposed Digital Archiving Capability Development Committee was not formed, and instead DARE was given the responsibility for implementing the strategy. And so, unfortunately, as a result, there was less oversight and input into the implementation from other sections. So unsurprisingly, some of the actions which relied on cooperation from other areas of the business were not implemented due to competing priorities and the impact of COVID. So for example, proposed software testing sessions were piloted face-to-face pre-COVID, but we just couldn't get it supported properly when staff were remote working during the lockdowns. However, we did achieve some good outcomes. So the team was able to produce some e-learning modules and a set of workshops, which have been successfully implemented, and we're continuing to run those ongoing. So that was probably one of the ones that could proceed quite well during lockdown because we weren't reliant on sort of infrastructure and technology so much. So early this year, our review of the strategy implementation was undertaken by DARE, which provided some good learnings and some recommendations for our capability work moving forward. So I'm just going to share a couple of the key takeaways from that review. So with the strategy, a lot of the focus was on training. So we should look at other ways of learning because digital archiving capability is not solely based on training, but how we can engage and experience it. Also, some of the measures of success were not completely clear in the strategy. So for our future work, we're going to try our best to develop measures of success that are quantifiable if possible, and continue to use our regular executive board updates as like a reporting mechanism and a bit of an oversight on how we're tracking. Also, all the actions in the strategy were internally facing, and so we really want to explore opportunities to work more externally with the tertiary sector and professional associations. So, for example, like continuing our work with the Digital Preservation Coalition and the ASA and whatnot. So now I'm going to, let's look at our digital archiving capability work ahead. So this is the stuff that I'm actually doing, and I can answer questions on this too. So since starting at the National Archives in May, I've been working on establishing a new 3-year digital archiving capability implementation plan. I really need a good shortcut word for that. This plan supports the wider capability framework and the workforce plan that was introduced by our People and Culture section. So People and Culture's workforce planning have identified a whole bunch of themes and challenges, and it's the idea that the digital archiving capability implementation plan will aim to address mainly the theme of building capability across all levels and the challenge of amplifying digital skills, but to be honest, it'll impact on other themes and challenges of the archives as well. So to develop the new plan, the DARE director, so it's my manager Rowena Liu, and I met with multiple other directors across the National Archives, and when they couldn't attend a session, they tended to delegate to other senior staff in the section. So we got to speak to pretty much the entire organisation, which was really great. We ran 6 sessions from late June to early August to gather ideas and feedback. And meetings were held both face-to-face and on Teams, and we tried to limit each session to about 4 or 5 staff to allow for sufficient discussion. So I took detailed notes in the sessions and transcribed all the ideas and feedback into a spreadsheet for analysis, and then I used this information to draft the new digital archiving capability implementation plan, which I initially shared with People and Culture for their initial feedback to sort of make sure that the plan sort of aligned to their capability program of work and their workforce plans. And then once we got their okay, then my director circulated the plan to all the directors for their a second round of feedback, just to kind of check that I've captured what they had raised in our meetings with them. So after all of that process, the new plan outlines multiple activities to be implemented by DARE over the next 3 years. And these, all of the activities are being curated into these kind of 3 streams, but we're still kind of working on this. Our Director of People and Culture kind of raised the idea of maybe changing this to be a bit more outcome focused, but essentially they'll still be the same kind of themes, but we might just reword them a little bit once it's kind of finalised, which should be happening very, very soon. So the mainstream at the top there is training. So it worked really well last time and we want to continue that work. So building practical skills and knowledge in digital archiving concepts and practices through the development and delivery of training and information sessions for staff. Stream 2 is internal communications and engagement. So trying to build collective knowledge and understanding of digital archiving through fostering internal communication and engagement and curating and sharing information and resources. And stream 3 is external communications and partnerships. So attracting new staff, sharing and exchanging digital archiving knowledge and skills, raising the profile of the National Archives as a leading digital archive through partnering with universities, collaborating with other archives and libraries, as well as professional forums and communities. So while DARE is leading this work at the National Archives, we can't deliver it all on our own. Digital archiving capability will also require cooperation from other areas of the organisation and external sectors, plus some activities need additional funding. Because of this, we made sure to highlight these dependencies in the capability plan so that we can do our best to organise, prepare and delay activities if we can't get the required cooperation and funding. So I'm hoping it'll be a bit more flexible than the strategy last time. So if things aren't on track, we can kind of skip over or come back to it later. So with the success of those training products under the previous strategy, we're definitely continuing that stream of work. So the 2 things that worked really well were our e-learning modules and corresponding workshops. And these will be delivered under the new capability plan. So they cover 4 main topics: digital archiving, digital formats, metadata and digital preservation. And so my team currently delivers these workshops about 2 times a year, and we do them to groups about 10 to 15 staff. Each workshop is about 2 hours long and includes discussion, group tasks and quizzes, and staff can complete the e-learning modules in their own time via LearnHub, which is the Australian Government's online learning and development platform. And some of our future training work includes potentially developing new e-learning modules and targeted workshops with business sections as well. So a key activity under the second stream of the plan is establishment of our digital archiving community of practice. This is one way we can branch beyond training to help staff learn about digital archiving in new and different ways. So DARE established this community in August of this year, and we currently have over 40 members from the National Archives offices from all over Australia within various different sections, and we welcome membership from everyone in all different kinds of roles. So even if their role doesn't really involve digital archiving processes, it doesn't matter, they can join the community of practice. So we just facilitate this community via Teams, where we share information, we host events like webinars, and we also have a reading club. And another Stream 2 activity that we're planning to work on is adopting regular internal assessments using Digital Preservation Coalition's Rapid Assessment Model, or RAM. So we've done a couple of these in the past, but we haven't really established a regular annual rhythm. So we're hoping that by undertaking the assessment every year, we'll be able to collaborate with different sections in the business, namely preservation, and start building some evidence to support future planning and resourcing around digital archiving. We're also keen to pilot DPC's new Capability Assessment Toolkit, or CAT, they like the acronyms, and with some of the sections. That'll help establish skills gaps and provide an evidence base so that they can start thinking about resourcing and staffing requirements for the future. So while the National Archives is already engaged with external organisations, we added this third stream in the plan to bring more focus to this work and how it supports building digital archiving capability. In particular, we're hoping to build our partnership with the tertiary sector to ensure that digital is firmly embedded in archival qualifications and look at how we can support staff to gain relevant qualifications. Other activities in Stream 3 include attending professional events to learn what others are doing, as well as sharing our digital archiving work through papers and conferences, like the ASA conference, and also publishing in non-academic spaces as well, like the DPC blog. But we also do publish when we can. So on papers, my colleagues, Kerry Garvey and James Doig, just published an article in Archives and Manuscripts. So it's called Reimagining the Commonwealth Record Series System, and you can access it online for free now. Yay! So anyway, I just thought I'd plug that there while it's there so people will read it. So I'm just going to get back and finish off my talk. So if all goes to plan with the current capability implementation plan over the next few years, we hope to try and meet these success measures. Business areas develop a deeper understanding of digital archiving. Managers and staff will have a greater buy-in to actively build digital archiving capability and implement digital archiving initiatives, such as develop tools and new workflows with our data and digital branch. So everyone will know that digitisation is not digital preservation, I hope. Staff actively engage in digital archiving capability building activities. So staff see digital archiving as an important capability that's worth developing and is relevant to their role. So it's something that is consistently included in their work plans. And also that the National Archives employs and retains skilled staff. And we want to be seen as an attractive career opportunity to both people starting in the profession and people who have already established their archiving careers. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope you found our digital archiving capability journey interesting, and I'm hoping that some of the information that I shared today can help you with your own planning as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Eva. We are battling time a little bit, but maybe a couple of quick questions. If we've got anyone in the room or online with a question to ask Eva. Just over here.
Hi, I'm Roxy. I'm from the State Library of New South Wales. I just wanted to ask, with the staff at the National Archives, what kind of base level of knowledge did they have in regards to digital archiving before this work started?
It's kind of spread out, and there's kind of pockets of it. So depending on the area, often it's the people sort of working with the new Born Digital record content coming in, so transfers already had a bit of a knowledge base in this space. People developing some of the standards and requirements around the management of digital records had a good knowledge, but maybe not practical skills and knowledge in how that sort of translates when the records are actually within our organisation and in our custody. Obviously, my section and its predecessor had a bit of a knowledge base and experience. And preservation is traditionally more conservation focused and has a lot of people with expertise in the physical processing and preservation and conservation of like paper records and photographs and things like that. So they're branching out and developing, and I have to say the audio-visual preservation at National Archives is very strong, and the systems that's been implemented are quite good, so there's a good pocket there as well. So we've had little pockets sort of spread out, but it's sort of trying to connect all of that together and generate a more collective knowledge base around digital archiving, so that it's not just in those little areas and when with those specific people. So that I guess that hopefully that answers. I'm still quite new, so I think I'm going to see David nodding, so I think I've got it right.
I think as well, more and more of our systems and our processes are becoming digital in terms of business as usual. So it's a necessity that we do have those skills. And
there's one question for the discussion forum you want to ask. Just as a union making some of the trainings to external archives.
Okay, so So a question that we've had in the discussion forum is, are you thinking of taking any of this training to providing it externally for external?
We hadn't really thought about that. I have to say, in terms of digital preservation and archiving, the Digital Preservation Coalition resources are really, really strong, and we do draw from that a lot. So a lot of what we're delivering is more taking what's already available and reworking it to the National Archives context, because what we're trying to do is build capability within our organisation and in our context. But I guess some of that is sort of happening through our collaboration with CSU. So we're providing our knowledge and our expertise, and we're sort of working with them to sort of work out how we can strengthen their course offerings so that there's more of a focus on digital archiving.
Okay, just one last question just here. Got a mic. Just.
I'm Brennan from the City of Sydney. Is there any thought to how eventual consumers of the information, whether, to prepare them with digital literacy so that they can inspect the metadata to understand the provenance of digital records and inspect their authenticity and that kind of thing?
Yeah. So it's kind of hoped that as that knowledge is sort of disseminated across the archives, that people that are working on projects around access and discovery will take that knowledge and translate it through, so that when an archivist is documenting a digital set of records, they'll do that in a way that will hopefully translate best to the user when they're just determining how to define the object, the digital record, the digital series, that they'll do that in a way that can be done within the constraints of our systems, but also will be done in a way that a user can hopefully interpret and use those records. So I guess I'm hoping that it will translate out into different areas, including those areas that have some impact on access. We're not really at a point where our born digital collections are readily available to our users yet, but when we're at a position where we can actually start undertaking that work deeply, then I'm hoping that some of the knowledge through our internal capability will translate into that as well. So I'm hoping that it will sort of happen organically over the next couple of years.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thanks, Eva, for that great presentation. And we'll